Hello, and today we're doing some zombie DIY. First, you're gonna need water, then you're gonna need some newspaper, and lastly, you're gonna need some glue. Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the newspaper, submerge it in water, let it sit for about a day, then drain out the water, add some glue until you get the consistency that you desire. I already cut out the canvas for this. You're just gonna use a regular cardboard canvas, nothing with a frame on it because it's a lot easier to work with, and you'll see why. Now what I'm doing is I'm tracing out my hand and I'm using wire to get the basic shape that I need. You can use any wire you want. I just got what was laying around. And then after you get the shape that you desire, you're going to create 3 anchor points that you're going to poke into the canvas. Now, what I'm doing is I'm drawing out where I want the hand to sit, and I am poking holes. Then after that, I'm going to put the hand wire thing that we just did, and I'm going to poke it into the canvas, because, you know, why not? Now after this, I'm just gonna fold it in the back, tape it down, and it is time for the tin foil. You're just gonna wrap that puppy up in some nice tin foil, and you're gonna make sure you cover the fingers, the hands, and just get the basic shape that you want your hand to look like. And after that, we're just gonna add the paper mush. Now, when I first tried this, I did not add the Elmer's glue because I didn't think it was necessary, but later I come to find out that I do need glue to make it stick together. Otherwise, the paper's just gonna fall off, so you might as well just, learn from my mistakes and just use the glue right off the bat. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just building up the wrist, the arm, the hand, and the fingers with this paper mush, trying to get the shape that I desire in the end. As you can see, some of this stuff is already falling off, and this is where I learned from my mistake. So I'm using paper towel to try and keep it together while it dries, because once it dries, it's golden. Now this is the point where I learned from my mistake and I actually put glue into my paper mush mix. Now it's 1,000 times easier to work with, and it's actually not falling apart. Congratulations to me, right? I'm just covering the tin foil to get the basic shape of the fingers, also trying to make the hand look more like a hand and less like some kind of weird glove prop thing. I'm also using the paper mush to build up the base, just so the hand's more secure, and also it's the ground, so obviously it has to look like it's ripping out of the ground, right? Now we're moving on to the back of the hand, and yes, I know, you can see all of my lovely books in the background. Maybe one day I'll actually have a space, rather than my desk, to film these things. Fingers crossed, right? Once all the fingers are covered, I just let it out to dry. Of course, some things still fall off, but that's okay. It's not as bad as it was before without the Elmer's glue. Now, once the hand dries a little bit, I'm just adding Elmer's glue on top of everything that I laid down. Anything and everything. This is just a precautionary measure. I do it all the time with my paintings. I'm just adding a top coat, that way everything is safe and secure, and it makes the entire piece more solid. Once that's dry, it is time to move on to the rest of this sculpture painting. Right now, I'm building up the headstone because we're gonna play with it later, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. After that, I am just blending it in with the ground, what I already did before, giving it some texture by just poking it 1,000,000,000 times. Once the ground is 90% complete, it is time to move back onto the hand because we're gonna make this look better than it already looks. It's a little rough around the edges, so we're gonna make the palm look more like a palm and the fingers look more like fingers. Now, halfway through, I realized that you can't see the tops of the fingers, so I decide to help you out, move the camera up a little bit. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be great. Now, after all of the fingers are done and I'm done building up the entire hand, I just cover the rest of it in Elmer's glue. This is really helpful because it smooths out the rough edges, especially on the fingers, and it just makes everything look a whole lot nicer. And now it is time for the fun part, carving in the headstone. And of course, I learned very quickly that you can't carve into paper mush, so we're just gonna erase it and start over. It's perfectly okay. Now with the paper mush that I made, I just found that repeatedly poking it was the way to go, and it worked out very well. It got the effect that I wanted to achieve. Props to anybody who can tell me, one, who the person is with the name Betsy Bell, and then two, why I chose the date I chose. One hint is the date I chose does pertain to the painting in some way or another, so just let me know. Now what we're doing is we're just gonna blend it all together, and I do this just by creating little spikes, trying to get a grass-like effect, and I'm just doing one row, and then I'm going back in and doing a second row. That's all it is. After I'm done with blending in the headstone, it is time to move on to the hand, just making the ground look more broken. Of course, it's kind of difficult to see because it's paper mush on paper mush. But hey, I tried. Finally, we're just adding one last coat of Elmer's glue to make everything stick together, and it is finished. This is what the end result of the sculpting portion of this project looks like. I'll see you in part 2 for the painting.